This video and other social media posts are for religious educational purposes only. No one involved in the social media pages or multimedia messages are lawyers, and nothing in this, or any other message or social media post, is to be taken as legal advice. The following video message contains difficult subject matters that may be triggering for some viewers. Discretion is advised.
We welcome you to the Way of the Mandalore Religious Movement. I am Udesla Jorir. I am the co-founder of the Way of the Mandalore Religious Movement. We are a registered domestic nonprofit in the state of Ohio and a legal 501c3 private charity. In case you haven't noticed or you're new to these video messages, we're taking a different tone with this video due to some of the subject matter. And it should be clear as to the reasons why as we move forward. In our last sermon message, we addressed the 8th tenet and a Mandalorian's requirement to be as self-sufficient as possible. In this video, we will be addressing what could be said to be the most serious aspect of this religion in regards to how Mandalorians treat others. Tenet 9, keep some aside for foundlings. A Mandalorian must, to the best of their individual ability, provide care and shelter to foundlings. Now, what exactly is a foundling, according to our religion? Despite what some people have said in the past, foundling is not simply another word for child. It's not simply a way to refer to all young people using the tone and language models of the fictional lore. The word in-universe to refer to children within a religious community would be youngling, not foundling. As we have seen in the fictional universe, the word foundling usually refers to a child who has been adopted by a member of a given Mandalorian sect and is being raised within that culture. The term foundling within our religion goes a bit farther and is meant to indicate children who are orphaned, unwanted, abandoned, neglected, or otherwise abused. They are the most vulnerable and innocent among us. They are often the forgotten or overlooked. They are the ones most needing of protection, understanding, and special care. What exactly does it mean to provide care and shelter to foundlings? It means that we, as Mandalorians, must actively seek out ways to support these unwanted, abused, orphaned, or neglected children. Most of all, within our own communities. This can mean something as simple as researching local charities and donating your time, money, resources to organizations that help these children, volunteering at youth centers or with programs focused on at-risk children, or otherwise providing assistance to young people within our communities. Even opening your own home to provide foster care or adoption. However, it is important to note that not all of us may be able to take on such a significant responsibility. Adoption and foster care in the current system require a lot of time, energy, and financial resources that may put such commitments beyond our financial capabilities. It is not a requirement to do so in order to keep this tenet. Again, to the best of their individual abilities comes into play. But if you are fortunate enough to have the means to do so, it is certainly commendable, and you should know that this religious community stands by to support you in every way that we can. In a given year, in the United States alone, there are around 200,000 children in foster care, of which about 117,000 are not eligible for reunification. This means that their biological families are either deceased or unwilling to raise them. These foundlings are longing for a permanent and loving home. They are lost in a world they do not understand, and they yearn for stability, care, and a chance to thrive. Does this mean you are keeping this tenet if you temporarily house one of those 83,000 children who might go back to be reunited with their families? Of course you are. This should go without saying, but it's going to be said anyway. If you are so fortunate as to foster or adopt foundlings, they must be treated no differently than your biological children. And it is important to note that as Mandalorians, we must not seek out praise or even undue recognition for the good that we do for foundlings, whether it's through charity work, donations, fostering, adoption, any of that. Caring for and providing for children who have been abused or are unwanted is not something to be done for the sake of praise or recognition. Like we discussed in the last video, we help when we can help for the simple sake of helping. And the state of being a foundling isn't necessarily a permanent condition in all cases. At the most minute level, it could involve watching out for children when we go about our daily lives. It can be something so low effort as keeping a discreet eye on children when you are out in public. It seems like a cliche, and with good reason, but how many times have parents said, "I only looked away for a second"? And it's not that we expect kidnappers in every shadow or death traps around every corner. But we are all aware of what can happen in just a few seconds. Every year in the United States, there are more than 400,000 missing children reports filed. That's approximately every 90 seconds. Although only a small number of cases involve what we would think of as a stereotypical kidnapping, where the child is taken by a stranger and either transported or detained overnight, the majority of missing children cases are resolved within a few hours or days, and usually involve a family member or parent taking the child or even a disturbed teen runaway. This does not make that child any less a foundling in those situations. We do not know the circumstances. In the event of parental kidnappings, we do not know the abuses the non-custodial parent could be trying to prevent, or if they are, in fact, the abuser. And in the event of runaways, we don't know the abuses the child is running away from, or their mental state at the time. It does not matter. While that child is missing, he or she is a foundling. Now, obviously, this doesn't mean we all quit our jobs and rush out and form search parties. Nothing so dramatic. But a simple change in your mindset is a good place to start. Are you annoyed when the Amber Alert alarm goes off on your phone? Do you dismiss it without reading it? Do you breeze past the missing children notices when you're out shopping? Are you even aware of other children when you're out in public? Again, the vast majority of missing children's cases are resolved quickly and with no injury to the child, but for those who do not fit this pattern, the consequences can be devastating. According to UNICEF, an estimated 1 in 4 victims of modern slavery are children. And children make up an estimated 30% of all trafficking victims worldwide. Child abuse and neglect are also significant problems. According to the National Children's Alliance, there are as many as 600,000 unique cases of child abuse each year in the U.S. Now, what do we think of when we think of child abuse? We think of violence. We think of hitting. We think of beating. We think of the physical damage. But the overwhelming majority of child abuse, more than 75% of cases, are not those of direct violence, but neglect, where the child has a basic need that their families are not providing for them. Just as an example, there are as many as 11 million children in the U.S. who are unsure where their next meal is coming from. According to the World Health Organization, up to 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys will experience some sort of sexual abuse or sexual assault before the age of 18, usually at the hands of someone that child knows and trusts. And regardless of your personal beliefs regarding pornography among consenting adults, the proliferation of online pornography has made it easier for abusers to exploit and victimize children. According to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, reports of child pornography increased by 50% from 2019 to 2020, with a total of 21.7 million reports being received in 2020. These are dangers we simply cannot ignore. Now, it's natural and understandable to feel grief, to feel guilt or helplessness, to feel sickened, and more often to feel a righteous rage burn in the core of your very being when you're confronted with the harsh and cruel reality of this issue. To know that there are young children being abused, neglected, starved, tortured, sexually assaulted, or even having their lives ended simply for being inconvenient. But remember, my brothers and sisters, and this is not an easy thing for any of us to do, these emotions can be a useful tool when we aim them in the right direction. They can drive us to take serious steps to make all the differences we can. They can help raise awareness and rally support, but more importantly, they can spur action. Now, we could do what other groups and belief systems do, and we can express our outrage. We can complain amongst ourselves about how horrible the situations are. Or we can do something about it. And each and every individual who chooses to keep the Way of the Mandalore must actively be doing the best they can to make real changes in the lives of foundlings. Together, we can make a difference in their lives, a real difference. Whether it's becoming a foster parent, adopting, supporting organizations that combat child exploitation, participating in charity drives to fight hunger and neglect, raising awareness and volunteering in our communities, our actions matter. Ultimately, the responsibility that we as Mandalorians have toward foundlings is not simply a matter of obligation or duty. It is an essential part of our culture and our identity. It is who we are, and it is who we choose to be every day. With that, we close out our brief overview on the 9th tenet of the Way of the Mandalore. Keep some aside for foundlings. Obviously, this, like all the tenets, has other aspects that we will address in future messages, but hopefully this helped you to learn a little bit more about us and our religious beliefs. Please join us for our next video, where we will continue our series on the 12 Core Tenets with Tenet 10, Remain Loyal. Until next time, Vode, Laurentier Mandoade Balkir Marutiak, Ibik Runi. Thank you, brothers and sisters, and be safe. This is the way.